This episode of Destructoid is brought to you by Gamefly. Coming up on Destructoid, Diablo III players are turning into superpowered god wizards left and right. Assassin's Creed 3 might be followed by a big pile of DLC. And Manos, the Hands of Fate, the game, the master wouldn't approve. All this and more right now on Destructoid.
Welcome to Destructoid. I'm Tara Long.
And I'm Max Scoville.
Happy Monday, Max.
Yeah,
I could make fun of you in so many ways right now, but I won't because that would just be cruel.
For those of you who missed it, I got my teeth ripped out of my face on Thursday night, and that's one of those things that does not just get better over the weekend.
Yeah.
News to me.
So your girlfriend
here
also.
I am. Yeah,
right.
My girlfriend and my roommate are both third-year dental students, so they decided to rip out my teeth from my face, which is one of the more surreal
memory you'll cherish forever.
Yeah, bonding. Anyway, let's get into the news, and I'm going to try and read the words correctly, but just bear with me if I mess up. So one of the biggest things to happen to PC gaming this year was DayZ, which is the hugely popular mod for Arma 2, which single-handedly made the 3-year-old tactical shooter suddenly a bestseller. And of course, when things are popular, they frequently attract imitators. And today, we've gotten word of the War Z, which is going to be a survival horror kind of zombie MMO action online thing that takes place in a 200 to 400 square kilometer map with merged PvE and PvP gameplay, safe cities and stores, normal and hardcore modes, and first or third person perspectives. It's got a handful of differences from DayZ, but I think it also has a lot in common with it too. And the general consensus seems to be that this is a thing that is very much like this other thing. Similarities aside, the War Z is built from the ground up with the zombie apocalypse in mind, so it's got more of an overall kind of apocalyptic look to it. And it also has, zombies and guys with hats and trees and stuff like that. The War Z is the first project from Hammerpoint Studios and Arctos Interactive, and we should expect a beta sometime soon with a full release following sometime this fall. They've stated it's going to sell for $30, which is the same price as Arma 2, which is, the thing that's required to play DayZ, so... toss up there. It won't have a subscription fee, but
that's good.
There you go. Now, accusing a game of being an imitation of another game is kind of a slippery slope, since video games have a long history of being, derivative and rip-offy. But I mean, I don't want to go that far myself, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a lot of DayZ fanboys slamming the War Z. I mean, based on the name alone, if it's not ripping off DayZ, it's ripping off World War Z, and either way, the War Z is a terrible name for a game. But
yeah,
we got screenshots to go on, so
I know, it's so hard, especially for a zombie game that's like all screenshots of zombie games look pretty much the same unless you've got like a really unique aesthetic there, which I don't think they really do, but we'll see when we get the first gameplay footage. Hopefully that'll be soon. Moving on to other games, it's pretty amazing, to me at least, that Diablo III has been out for over 2 months now and people are still finding huge bugs in the game. But I guess that's what happens when you insist on proprietary anti-piracy measures. Who knows? Anyway, Diablo's latest exploit allows anyone playing as a wizard to enter God mode and thus become invincible just by casting a specific sequence of spells.
It's like a cheat code.
Yeah, pretty much.
Magic.
Obviously, this wouldn't be such a crisis if there wasn't real money at stake here, but of course the real money auction house means that anyone who chooses to take advantage of the exploit could profit quite a bit if they play their cards right. I'm not going to show you guys directions on how to do that here because I value my job, but last I checked, you could find directions on how to do it over on Kotaku's website. Blizzard hasn't fixed the issue yet, but they have censored everyone on their forums who posts directions on how to do it, so this is lovely.
Why did I even come to work today when I could just be at home being a god wizard and making tons of virtual gold?
I love how all of
magic.
The news we've reported on about Diablo 3 since its launch has been about just all of its problems.
Yeah.
This is going to go down as one of the rockiest launches of 2012, I think, for sure.
Well, it's a rolling launch. It's like
Your cheeks look funny.
Stop it. It's not fair. Okay, I'm going to try this one. If you're into bad cult movies, you've probably heard of Manos, the Hands of Fate. It was one of the worst movies ever shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000. They actually apologized for how bad it was halfway through, and for some terrible, stupid reason, the folks over at Freak Zone Games have decided to cash in on the tiny Manos fan base with an iOS platformer. On their YouTube channel, they describe this as an homage to the great games you remember from your childhood. Remember how every film and cartoon had its own platform game adaptation? When every man, woman, child, animal, and inanimate object were out to get your character. Manos will take you back to the fantastically absurd games of the past. Oh boy, that's great. So like the shitty NES games of the 80s based on movies that had barely anything to do with the games themselves, combined with one of the worst movies I've ever seen. That's fantastic. I will say, Manos the Games manages to nail that kind of that retro feel. It's got the kind of 8-bit look down, but as far as nostalgia, not so much. And I think they seriously wasted an opportunity by not making a game in which players control Torgo, who is the monster from Manos, who's basically just a guy who has a beard and really big knees.
Good lord.
Just giant knees, just hobbling around. In any case, that hits iTunes on the 26th. That's this Thursday, and if you're really impatient, you can actually go watch the entire movie of Manos, The Hands of Fate on YouTube. It sucks so much that no one has even any interest in the copyright claims on it. So it's
Is it so bad it's good,
there.
though?
Borderline, you know.
Jonathan Holmes used to be obsessed with it.
Some people like to choke themselves when they jerk off, so hey, you know, different
who
strokes.
Knows? Could be any one of us. So, moving on, you guys might remember when Nintendo promised back at E3 that they were going to start offering downloads of retail 3DS games. Well, that day, my friends, has arrived.
Okay.
Does that work? Okay, let's go with that.
You didn't get oral surgery, so you should be able to talk just fine.
No, I have no excuse. So, New Super Mario Bros. 2 releases today in Japan, making it Nintendo's first downloadable retail title. Of course, the only catch is you still have to go to a store to buy it. Am I crazy, or what's the point here? I don't know. People are reporting that the digital download cards are actually slightly cheaper than buying a physical cartridge. So for comparison, if you wanted to buy a full retail cartridge of New Super Mario Bros. 2, that would cost you 4,800 yen, while the digital download card is 4,480. So it's like a 5 to 6% total discount, which is not great, but also better than nothing, I guess. And the cards are good for 150 days, so you have 5 months to redeem them. And right now, 7-Eleven is the only store in Japan that's stocking them. But I think next week, starting next week, more retailers are going to be rolling them out, and then it'll be pretty much everywhere by the end of the month. Meanwhile, New Super Mario Bros. 2 releases stateside on August 19th, which is likely when we can expect to see digital download card things pop up in stores around here.
Good, I'll go to my nearby 7-Eleven and buy it.
Am I crazy, or did I think that they were promising us that we'd be able to just download them directly from the eShop?
I don't think they really understand the whole idea of downloads. It really defeats the purpose.
I don't know. It's like buying Farmville cards. Why? Unless you're buying it for a gift, in which case you're a terrible gift giver. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're going to be back in just a second to talk about Assassin's Creed, but first, why don't we thank our sponsor? Gamefly is the largest online video game rental service, and they offer you a choice from over 8,000 titles, new and classic, across all consoles and handhelds. Their plans start at just $15.95 a month, and members can rent 1 to 4 games at a time and keep them for as long as they like. There are no late fees, no due dates, and shipping is always free. Once you're done playing a game, just send it back, and Gamefly will send you the next available game on your list. And if you really, really dig the game you're playing, just click Keep It on the Gamefly website, and the game is yours at a discounted price. Gamefly will even mail you the case and manuals free of charge. Gamefly members can also play hundreds of PC games for free with their unlimited PC Play plan. Destructoid fans, better yet, get a 15-day free trial when they head over to gamefly.com/Destructoid. Every sign-up helps support the show so that we can buy video games for ourselves and then talk about them back at you.
Do it.
Do it. Back to the show. So anyone who follows gaming news even remotely or plays a lot of video games is probably aware that DLC is kind of the hot new trend in the industry, at least for 2011, 2012-ish.
2010, 2009.
Yeah, well, Rockstar really kind of did the Season Pass thing with L.A. Noire, and now pretty much all of their games have some kind of Season Pass attached to it that gets you post-launch content at a discounted price. And now Ubisoft has jumped on the bandwagon for Assassin's Creed 3. Of course, they did kind of something similar with the PC version, I think, of Revelations, where they had like a season pass. But apparently now they're doing it for all versions. Of course, this is kind of a rumor right now. GameStop employees sent this picture into Kotaku over the weekend, which shows a memo from Ubisoft congratulating GameStop employees on assassinating their announcement pre-order goals. Yes, they actually used that pun. And it also makes note of the fact that they've begun assembling a separate team to develop their post-launch content, apparently, which they claim is going to allow them to set the bar for quality DLC in our industry. But of course, the most important part of the memo is that it outlines Ubisoft's plan to release a Season Pass for Assassin's Creed 3. And I quote, "We know you're familiar with the Season Pass concept, and beginning shortly, we'll start to take pre-orders of our very own. We'd love your continued assistance in informing pre-order customers that a better value is available for those who pre-order Assassin's Creed with the Season Pass." So, like I said, this is becoming a lot more common in the recent years. I can't think of any Ubisoft game that's done this before, except for the PC version of Revelations. And I think that was mostly multiplayer stuff, kind of packaged in together. I think it gave you like a 20% discount off the total stuff. But like, I can see arguments for both sides here, right?
I think that when you throw in the name of the Season Pass, the DLC stuff, and the game isn't even out yet, it just kind of seems tacky on the part of the developer.
Yeah, I mean, granted, they didn't announce this, it got leaked, but
right, yeah.
I'm sure they obviously would have announced their plans for post-launch DLC before the game actually launches.
When you start to try and piggyback bargains where you're like, oh, if you buy the Season Pass, it makes the DLC cheaper, but if you pre-order the game and the Season Pass, then it makes the DLC slightly cheaper still. And it's just like, dude, let the game come out. You know, let the game come out and then worry about that. You know, buying DLC one piece at a time, I'm like a harder sell on that, but a Season Pass, it's kind of like an expansion pack.
Oh yeah.
Which is just like, it's like, hey, an extra half a game, like bonus features, there you go. Buying them one at a time just feels like cheap to me. But,
yeah, especially if they're like $10 each, it can add up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm sure most of the Assassin's Creed DLC stuff will be multiplayer, or at least tied to that section.
I do like the idea of a bunch of GameStop employees suddenly being like, the responsibility is mine. I have to inform those pre-orders.
It's my time to shine.
Hark, Assassin's Creed fan, come with me into this shadowy alleyway and I shall tell you the secrets of the seasonal pass.
Oh God, why are you so creepy, GameStop?
Anyway, that's about all the time we have for today's show.
Indeed it is.
As you guys might know, we were having a contest. It was for a Seagate Momentus XT 750 gig solid state hard drive. Hybrid hard drive, that's the key thing. That's a lot of syllables to say with a mouthful of holes.
Good job.
Anyway, you guys put in a ton of entries just telling us why you needed hard drives, and we picked the winners. We could not pick all of you. I'm sure all of you need new hard drives, but the winners are Zachary Goen, Britton Johnson, Jorge D, Mystery Untold XX, and Cullen Butler, because you guys all have crappy hard drive situations. But I think Cullen is the absolute winner. He gets first place, which means nothing else for the rest of you, but his hard drive is not actually there in his computer. He sent us a video of how the bottom of his computer, his bottom of his laptop is just a gaping hole, and he's currently running Ubuntu booted off of a NES Zapper that has a flash drive in it. So he's running his computer off a plastic gun, which is a pretty sad situation. Anyway, we'll get in touch with you guys via email soon, and you should find yourselves with gigabytes just raining from the ceiling. We're gonna make it rain some gigabytes.
We're gonna make it rain.
So many gigabytes.
You guys should keep in touch with us on Twitter while we're gone until Wednesday. All the important updates are there. You, of course, can find the show at Detoid Show. I am Tara Longest. He is Max Scoville. Why don't you go home and take lots of painkillers?
I'm going to eat so much drugs. I'm going to be Max Payne. I'm just going to put on my Hawaiian shirt and eat my painkillers, and everything's going to be in slow motion then.
You're a good sport.
We'll see you guys on Wednesday. I'm sorry about my cheeks.
Don't do drugs.